Hello and welcome to yet another episode of Beagle series, where we bring in industry experts that help you understand how data is changing the way we do business and the struggles that come along with it. I'm your host, Asmita Mishra from Beagle, a conversational BI platform that embeds data analytics into your workspace. And today with me is Sumanta Dutta. He is an ex-managing director for Logitech. He has over 25 plus years of industry experience under his belt for working with various CPG brands. He is also an advisor to multiple startups for data and analytics. Welcome, Shumanto.
Thank you, Asmita. Glad
We
to
are,
be
ha-
here.
we are happy to have you too. Let me quickly jump into some interesting questions that I have for you today. With your level of experience, I think our viewers can really get a very good insight how data has revolutionized the industry. It's the complete CPG industry. Let me start with you've seen data becoming an integral part for in terms of company. You've been the person inside the company, but how do you think it has translated for the consumers, especially if I want to talk about brand perceptions and goodwill?
Firstly, data has really been both an inside out and an outside in experience for most professionals. And it is only lately, with the advent of companies like Amazon or the e-commerce platforms or e-sales, that we see a direct connection to the consumer.
Mm-hmm.
For the consumer, I think there was a time when you moved from buying what was available, whatever you could find, to knowing that yes, there were shops, and if you went to multiple shops, you could possibly find what you wanted, to now thinking about a product and being able to get it. It may take a little bit of time, but you are pretty certain that you will be able to get it in a physical world or in a digital format in terms of procuring it, but you are going to be able to get it, which means you do not compromise. So I think it's a sea change, and it's happened rapidly over the last 5 or 6 years, and this is irrespective of geography. So if earlier on, if I was in Delhi or one of the metros, Mumbai, I had a better chance of getting it. But if I was in small town, urban 2, urban 3, in Muzaffarnagar or in Thiruvananthapuram or Kochi or Tuticorin, there was very little chance I could get my hands on a product that I wanted. But today, irrespective of geography in India and my location, I'm pretty confident that I can get the exact product that I want, which is a fantastic development from a consumer standpoint. The only watch out for consumer companies is, as we look to really use data and get consumer friendly, we should avoid over targeting, false targeting, getting to a point of irritation for the consumer as we step up our efforts. So it's going to be a fine, delicate balance on too much now.
Yeah. I mean, you said a very interesting point in terms of, we are able to get what we want. Do you think that has actually translated into brand loyalty for the brands, for the consumers as well? I mean, they are, even for a consumer space where fast moving goods, where people were able to get a lot of alternatives. Do you think it has actually given them to become a little brand loyal also?
I believe that it's a mixed bag. So those companies, those organizations that are continuously evolving, innovating to be at the leading edge of their industry or product are seeing an increased brand loyalty, because consumers feel attached to this company. So it's about how hard they're working to stay upfront. And if it is, even from an operational perspective, if consumers feel it is very easy to get hold of the brand's products, they tend to stay attached. But it's a very competitive space there. So it's not just in getting the product out there, but also staying ahead, innovating, continuously disrupting oneself that's defining brand loyalty and brand love, as I would say it. So it's an interesting space for all of us. And especially with COVID, and I'm not going to blame COVID, but I think what COVID has brought about is an increased likelihood that I'm going to spend more time on e-commerce or on the internet to make up my mind on products. And therefore, after considering all opinions, I may still choose to stay with my product, my choice of brand, or I may for a minute or for one time alone try something else. So there is going to be a little bit more trial and definitely more research from the consumer side.
So I'm going to pick that sentence that you said. With COVID, the digital has increased. So if I talk specifically in terms of consumer companies, they have a lot of digital data as well. Historically, they had a lot of offline data, and they have been investing heavily on making these data sources talk to each other. How well do you think these companies are able to do that?
It's a journey. It's been a journey. I think if you look back to even as late as 5 years ago, CPG companies, big and small, were struggling to get into digital data.
Yeah.
And then even if data existed, it existed in silos. And they wouldn't talk to each other, which prevented real-time action at the moment of truth, where consumer interacts with your product, which prevented dynamic pricing, product, channel architecture from taking place. And worse still, the sales force had very little access to this dynamic data. So I would say we moved a long way. Data has been integrated across most companies, but I think there's still some way to go till we get to real-time, moment of truth, actionable data at the hands of the frontline sales, and more importantly, data that integrates everyone across the organization. We're still not broken down all the silos.
I mean, that's actually a very interesting point to look at. I mean, but what factors do you think that can actually be the key determinant of these to drive value out of these investments? I mean, how can a company, after investing so much on digital transformation, what factors do you think are the key to successful getting value of these investments?
Well, it's about aligning the entire organization to the data integration journey. The alignment should be able to bring together the senior most and the junior most on the same page, where if the big picture was only available to a few, the purpose was not visible to the junior most. I think it's now time that everyone pursues similar goals so that we are intelligent about what we aim to achieve. So therefore, as an objective, I think if we look at full data integration to enable action at the moment of truth, it's a good place to start. That's a good thing to do. The other thing is, as we talked about a little earlier, is when we look at the need to continuously evolve, is how the data that we have actually facilitates agile integration so that it enables continuous improvement and, in a way, relevance for the organization and every member and every function, so that we are constantly moving ahead together to be at the front of the innovation pyramid, as you would say it. And technological integration.
Yeah.
Seamless. across platforms. We moved from the desktop to the laptop to the mobile phone to from meetings in boardrooms to meetings virtually. The way we can, now we've got to make sure that the data interpretation integration is seamless across all the platforms. And then finally, all of this coming together to unify and provide easy access to actionable insights, to action orientation for the whole company. So I think those are it's about where the organization chooses to use this data and how it purposes this data.
On that note, I'm going to hold your thoughts on that and ask you what's your take on the current BI system in this CPG company specifically, if I say, and are they able to drive decision making?
Well, as I said earlier, Asmita, data integration within CPG has made quantum leaps. There was a time not so long ago, maybe 2 decades ago, at the turn of the century, that you would see that sales data would be a couple of days to a week late. Stock reports may or may not be filed every day, maybe on a weekly basis. We made quantum leaps. It's now possible to see sales data, stock data on a real-time basis. But I think where the struggle still is while the data assimilation is happening, the ability to keep pace with change, especially enabling internal adoption, where everyone is data hungry and is data driven and acknowledges data, is something that's going to take time, and especially as you go through multiple layers of the organization. And I can tell you that this comfort with data integration is not that it's just lacking at the lowest end of the organization or the highest end. It's across levels. So it's a cultural change. It's where everyone says that we will be driven by data, and it will inform and enable our actions. So I think that CPG companies, all companies, are still struggling with. Those that are not born digital first are still coming to grips with it. But I can say that big and small companies are now invested and completely into that journey and making sure that it works.
I think that's an interesting point, especially in terms of what you said. Companies who are not data first companies, how they have been investing so closely and across the chain, whether it's leadership or it's the junior most, everybody is understanding the importance of data. But I mean, to my surprise, I've seen, I was doing a little bit of research myself, understanding how the data journey is going, but it was very strange to see that we've advanced. There's so much advancement in technology, but leadership is often very reliant on the junior team members or the analytics team to access data. Why do you think that hasn't changed?
Interesting question. Why is it that I think in a way data still exists in silos. While we made a lot of progress in collapsing that, the AI-enabled analysis systems platforms are not yet ready to answer questions in a spoken language format. It's almost like, I think I have a query, I have a question in my mind, and I ask my data platform to answer it. I could be the CEO, I could be the salesman in the market. I should be able to ask a question, and the platform should be able to understand that question in spoken language, and give me the best possible solution. And till that happens, that will require obviously even more integration across the silos, which could be relevant stock data to finance data to market research data to specific market area knowledge or product data. And so we are ready for that sort of quantum leap again, where it's seamless. Leaders don't have to rely on analytics, but they actually embrace a platform. And they just go ahead and ask the platform, and the platform starts answering those questions. And the platform needs to answer questions almost in a spoken language. It's as if not just a senior leader, even if a junior most person is standing in front of a store and needs to find out some information or has some doubts in her mind before they enter the store to make a sale, the platform can answer it for her, and therefore enabling that action in the marketplace. And the same for the CEO, who wants to have a more wider look at how adoption is going on, or what specific problems may be coming up, what are the metrics that are offline in a particular market or in a particular business or a vertical. The platform should be able to answer it to you. And therefore, it's not to make the job of data analysts redundant, but I think the platform should be so much stronger and continuously evolving such that it's not difficult to operate. So as we make that quantum leap and have those platforms ready, I think the market's ready for that.
Yeah, I agree with your statement that market is ready for that. I mean, people are looking for that opportunity, and the gap is in terms of need and the requirement and the availability, the gap is huge.
Absolutely. And I'm sure that there are a lot of young entrepreneurs and firms, analytic firms, which are working on it, and we'll see some amazing work come through on that.
Thank you so much, Sumanta, for giving us time. I'm sure our viewers would have loved your inputs and taken a lot of inputs that they can incorporate and think through. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Asmita, for having me on the show today, and all the very best. Thank you.